Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It is once again time for the WADcast episode number 167. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined with me, as always, by Mr. Haktua himself, Brandon.
You're so retarded. Happy Friday, everybody. Oh, my God.
Have a happy Friday, Good Friday. It's not Good Friday, but Good Friday nonetheless.
For those of you listening at home, that third voice you're hearing is the sound of none other than writer, director, and occasional actor, I believe would be fair to say, Mr. Henry R Nader. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you.
And to Henry, it's good to have you on here, buddy. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Cool.
Yeah,
good to be seen.
Well, right now you'll be seen in the next week after download. You'll be seen by maybe a few hundred people, so it's at least something. So
okay, no, that's great. It's fantastic, and I really do appreciate it. Yeah.
So we are gathered here tonight to talk about your upcoming documentary, Naderworld, which will be premiering this coming Monday.
Yep.
It's
Monday evening.
6:45.
Yeah, 6:45 at Sunray Theater in 5 Points. And they're losing their lease soon, so they'll be perhaps moving or shutting down for a while. I'm not really sure, but it's a big deal that we get to kind of sneak in at the very end. I think the 6th of July is their last day, and there are two other local shows. I believe the 1st of July is the Jacksonville Shorts, Richard Kodai, and then. If I'm not mistaken, the 2nd is Royce's documentary on the Jacksonville film scene, but he'll be able to tell you more about that. So he's coming on right later on.
He will be on in about 10 minutes.
Cool. And so yeah, we're honored to get a chance to play that room, maybe for the last time or for the last time in a while. And it's a really cool thing.
Sunray Theater is great, and I regretfully didn't make the Duval double feature, but I did go see Far from the Tree. Wonderful place to watch. You know, the people that we see showcase their art.
I'm just surprised that it's closing. So we're so close to the closing date there. I thought it was gonna be open a little bit longer than that.
Well, they tried to work it out, and I think that it turns out to where it is what it is, legally speaking. But yeah,
I gotcha.
Great people, Tim and Shauna Massett.
Oh yeah. I've never met the owners or the people that actually run it. I've been there a few times in the past, but you're going back. I've been in Los Angeles now for seven wonderful years.
Shauna David Massett is a part of the David family who had Einstein a Go-Go out at Jack's Beach and the Theory Shop, and so they've really played a very, very pivotal role in the culture of Jacksonville, and we appreciate them greatly.
Yeah,
thank you guys very much.
They've had quite a few. Really great local made movies and everything else coming through there, like documentaries. I know that they've hosted a few events over there and everything else. They've been prolific in the just in the arts industry in Jacksonville, through cinema and stuff like that. It's might as well be a damn landmark. So it's just it's the fact that it's not labeled a historical landmark through Jacksonville's. I
believe the building is.
I'm just saying. Is it?
Yeah, that's why it can't be torn down.
Okay.
Place.
So if no one ever picks it up, it'll just be another abandoned building in downtown Jacksonville, basically.
Oh no, it was bought.
The what?
Yeah, well,
the building has new owners.
No, okay. Oh, okay. So it's not closing down. It's changing ownership, which it probably will.
It's changing ownership. I'm not sure if it's going to be a movie theater, but it was a movie theater back in the '60s, and who knows? I'm not really sure when it was established, but it was 5 Points Theater. And in fact, my parents went on a date there in the late '60s. They saw The Graduate when it was freshly out, and before Anyway, so before I came along, and so anyway, and then it became maybe a few other things. It was Club 5 for a while, and my band played
Yes.
there.
Saturday Night Seduction.
So, yeah, advancements, retreats, advancements, and retreats, and we're going to keep pushing culture and art forward. And
it's. I hope it remains a movie theater, and I hope that they pick up where the previous owners left off. I really do. That would obviously very much be ideal, but it's.
Just so we're clear, Sunray is still owned by the same people, but they were
absolutely, and they actually have a couple other locations. They're doing things at the pavilion out at the beach, and they have a drive-in theater, which I haven't been to yet. But
it's great.
They might be starting a new location, so we'll see. I'm hopeful. I've heard a few things about that, but nothing official, and I can't speak for them, so I'll defer to those guys on that one.
Yeah.
The last I heard, there was rumblings of some sort of bar/performance venue, basically a bar with a stage.
Well, that sounds sounds great.
I mean, didn't they already try that in Jacksonville Beach with Freebird? Which was actually like an awesome place. If it's for those of you that have never been to Jacksonville or Jacksonville Beach, Sunray is an awesome little theater. That's what we're talking about right now. And then Freebird was an amazing concert venue that used to be in my hometown of Jacksonville Beach. That is, unfortunately, now it is just a. And listen, I know a few of you guys listen to me that know what I feel about the place. I forget the name of it, but that place sucks now. It is just a bougie ass, uppity little bar full of young pups.
I haven't been, but
it's
I'm from the beach. I was born at Jack's Beach, actually. Yes.
Yeah.
So that
and here's what cracks me up with living in so far away from you guys. Living in Los Angeles in California, there was a video. I see videos go viral all the time that take place in Jacksonville Beach. And
oh really?
I had someone like show me this video, and I think before Blue Water got torn down because it's in the frame. But it is some guy running his mouth to police, and they tase him. He rips him out. Then they start beating him with their batons. And the friend of mine that recognized this area was a friend of mine that came out here to visit with me. Going out there to visit me from California. He posted on Facebook and tagged me. He's like, "Isn't this your hometown?" I'm like, holy shit, it is. That is Jacksonville Beach. Like,
Jacksonville.
So we have a reputation back in Duval County, nationwide. But I would really hope that Sunray gives us a reputation as far as being at least like artistic. Kind of like in the way that South Park got like Whole Foods in their little town to try to make them look a little less rednecky. But
okay,
it's
sure.
But it's my understanding you actually have something coming out very soon, don't you?
What's that? Me?
Yeah, you.
The movie, is that what we're talking about?
I'm sorry, Henry. I probably should have addressed you and not like just hey you. Sorry.
So Naderworld, what is it? What can we expect on Monday?
Oh, okay. Well, it's a documentary, but it's a bit of a film as well. Less of an autobiography and more of an art explosion and a bit of philosophy here and there. Just my point of view, kind of an hour and 9 minutes into my imagination. There is some history there. And I talk a little bit about Jacksonville Beach, just a tiny bit, and maybe family just a little bit, and then also I get into the era where I was playing music a lot under the name of Hank El Diablo, and that was my musical persona as well as a band, depending on the era. So there's a nice segment dedicated to that. Maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and it honors that era without being scandalous or going into any specific issues or whatever. Not that there were any. It was all perfect. No, but we had a good few years there where it was really an interesting tribe, and it was in the '90s, and I had a chance to really kind of come into my own as an artist through that. Although I always had aspirations of making films, and then eventually, of course, I got around to that. Long story short, and then here we go, Naderworld. So that's kind of a combination of the whole thing, long story short.
Okay.
It really is. It really is. Long story short, yeah.
Well, I mean, like, what and when is this coming out, and are you showing this at Sunray, or where is this being released?
Well, we're just showing it at Sunray right now, and then we're going to see. We're going to get some distribution for it, I think. I think that this one's actually worthy. It's a fun ride. It's different. It's very unique. It's kind of a bit hopeful and positive, which is perhaps uncharacteristic for my reputation.
I was going to say, this is the United States in the year 2024. There's no such thing as, any of that right now. We need to keep it dark and brooding and everything.
We do. And there is plenty of darkness. I mean, things are definitely falling apart, but I want to help as best I can with culture, with art. These are the things that can accidentally save the world, as far as I'm concerned. And forcing it and trying to, make the arguments. Maybe we should just kind of get together on something that we can feel and agree on, even if it's not intellectually, maybe just more, dare I say, spiritually, and connect in a way, and maybe have the conversation later, or better yet, not.
Yeah.
That's a suggestion. I mean, really, what the hell do I know?
No, it's honestly, like, in a sane world, that's how it should actually go down. But this is just like, Josh and I have had this conversation. I think one time we were covering, what is it's on the tip of my tongue, with Jesse Eisenberg, where he plays Mark Zuckerberg.
Sure.
That movie,
Network.
The Social Network. That's right. Josh and I were talking about that. Like, one time we were talking about, like, just like a divide that came with something that was supposed to bring people together, and that's like pretty much like what I blame for everything right now. Just like social media, it's I don't know. That's a conversation for another time. It's not really appropriate for what we're talking about, other than it just being a movie. Because I can already see Josh like dying a little bit on the inside before I even start getting to that point. So I won't do it. But
but one example is the theatrical experience, and how we need to have that a bit more often. It's something that we could do and sit there and kind of sit in that kind of sort of collective process all together, watching something and maybe just getting away from it all for a bit. And that is, of course, unfortunately going away, and we're seeing that with the closing of theaters. So I would like to see that coming back also, and I think that would make people happier, if at all possible. But it's an eventual process. It's not a panacea, and there's no magic bullet.
No, yeah, that was actually. It's sad to see so many theaters closing down. It really is.
It is, but I feel that it has to come back, because the theatrical experience is something that is tied in with what we are as a species, and something that we've been doing this entire time. Whether we have these new technologies or not, we are still kind of based on what we have built up in the past, and I feel that it's part of our connection to have that theatrical experience, and that's what we actually get in a movie theater. So.
Oh, absolutely. And like the great thing is that, like, what I love about like places like Sunray Cinema that plays a lot of independent films, has for years. What I love about that is the fact that
go ahead.
I was going to say, like, one thing that Josh and I have also discussed on the show in the past is people talking about how there are no, like, Hollywood's running out of ideas. And there's no original movies anymore. There's no movies that come out that, like, really just like strike me as. And Josh and I laid out like a list of some what we think are great films that are all just like in their own way original. Like, they may have like a similar story, because let's face it, you have like a few billion people on this planet, and then
everything's derivative of something.
Yeah. Like, I mean, everyone's experience is going to mirror someone else's. It's there's no way around it. There's nothing you can do that someone else has not done that's similar to you. So your thoughts are the same way. It's like everyone leaving for Thanksgiving a little early to beat the traffic, but everyone's there in traffic with you. But it's like one of those deals where, like, there are some plenty of movies that come out. We discussed this one movie, Relish, that's a coming of age story for not just one person, but for a group of kids. And we've seen that before, obviously, but it's on the execution.
Okay, what was it called again? What was the title?
It's called Relish.
What was the title?
Relish. Okay. The movie I'm talking about right now is called Relish, like the condiment relish.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it's by the this writer director. His name is Justin Ward. We've had him on the show in the past. He's the director of it. And even has like a friend of the shows also that's in the movie. So it's just like, it's worth a watch. But it's also like there's other movies that have come out that we discussed in the past. There's a list that I have somewhere on my laptop that it's just like it's a long, like multi-page list of movies when I was just trying to come up with talking points for the show that one day. But it's
so like modern.
I mean, modern going back into like the well back into the 60s actually. Because I mean, it's like that's just as far as I really looked with some of the more independent films that didn't really want to have studio control, but studios from the golden age to like the more, I guess, like silver age of filmmaking, going back into like the 80s and everything else. Like, like I refer to that now, of course, as a silver age because you still had movies made a certain way, and it was very rare to see like a straight up independent film that was not just some weird action film with Chuck Norris or whatever. Like, I mean, it's just like most of it was all just the same crap over and over again, even back then.
If you've got a few more, definitely. But I've made compiled a list of my own. Speaking of which, ironically enough, because I do compare.
I would love to hear it.
Fun films,
actually.
Okay, great. These are just films that I've come across recently that I've enjoyed, and expand your palette. Go for some deeper cuts out there. Okay, so here's one.
Cool.
I highly recommend.
Okay,
let's see. I'm going to do this out of order.
No, it's fine.
For no reason. Yeah. The American Friend by Wim Wenders. That's a W and W, Wim Wenders, you might say. But Wim Wenders is how you would say it with the pretentious accent. I'm kidding. That is actually how he says it. So we'll call it that. The American Friend. Dennis Hopper is in this movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is a good movie. This is really worth watching. He is enigmatic. He is an absolute icon. I miss this guy so much. He's absolute. I would think number one of the people that I would bring back to work with. And love Wim Wenders. Two other outstanding films, and I absolutely mean that, by Wim Wenders are Paris, Texas, and Wings of Desire. Wings of Desire and The American Friend both star Bruno Ganz, who's an outstanding German actor. And highly recommended stuff. I think you'll enjoy The American Friend. Sabotage by Alfred Hitchcock.
Yep, seen it. Yeah,
an old Hitchcock film. It's really kind of a lost gem, and I think it's worth re-examining. Here's one: The Plot Against Harry. Have you guys seen that? Josh, please do check out The Plot Against Harry. Yeah, it's by a guy named Michael Romer. Yeah, Michael Romer. He didn't make a lot of films, maybe a handful, and he's still with us, although he is in his 90s, I believe. And a couple of other films that he did. Vengeance is Mine, which is certainly an actor's film. Very impressive film. It was actually originally made for TV, and this was the one I originally came across by him, and it blew me away. For simplicity, very limited amount of production quality or whatever value. Not a lot thrown at it, but really a strong film for actors, and it just shows you like what you can do, how effective just a great story and great delivery can be. And this guy truly is an actor-director. And then a civil rights film that he made in '64 called Nothing But a Man. Yeah, which I highly recommend, with Ivan Dixon of Hogan's Heroes. He was really great. And I don't remember the woman's name who was the lead, but those two are outstanding in that film. And you can really feel like this guy is all about the actors and less about, whatever. I believe he's New York based. So
okay.
Two more. This one is subtitles. Hazard Balthazar. 3 words. By Robert Bresson. Just look up Balthazar. Very much worth watching. I'm a fan of Bresson, but this one really stands out. And last but not least, Possession, 1981's Possession.
Yep, seen it.
By Andrei Zulawski. You've seen it. Okay, great. Yeah, over the top. But for anyone who's listening out there that hasn't, please do check it out. I would suggest that it's over the top, and it's so much. The acting is so over the top at times that it actually buckles under its own gravitas. But it's fantastic for its attempts and where he tries to go with it.
I was about to say, I remember it being a very campy movie. For like, I saw like my uncle used to have me watch horror films. Whenever he'd watch me for the weekend, we would just binge horror movies like Galaxy of Terror. Like he introduced me to Full Moon Entertainment, which gave me some of my most, just as like, almost in my opinion, just as campy, but worth watching horror films. Like I was raised like watching like the Leprechaun movies. I was like, well, the original Leprechaun before all the really horrible sequels, but the Leprechaun, what was it like? Subspecies, or was it subspecies or Bloodstone, whatever the hell it was called. Heavy metal, things like that. Like this is the stuff that I would watch when I was going to his house. Not appropriate stuff to show like I guess at the time 7-year-old kid. But yeah. Whoops. He said like if you watch studio horror films, you're always watching the same shit. That's how he put it. But he was like, like, and there was some depth in there, but he was like, a lot of times it has to go through a producer that's going to be like, we can't show this because of the rating system. So that's why you have to watch the not rated independent movies because they can get away with more things. So, and I watched Galaxy of Terror at the age of like 7 or 8 years old, wondering what the hell this worm is doing with a poor woman. And turns out like it's a very sexual act. And like, along with Evil Dead, stuff like that, like in all the old school, like when you had no money to make something.
So too. Changed my life. I love that so much in the theater.
Oh yeah, like I mean, you look at these movies, you find out the history of these independent horror films with what they had to deal with and everything else. Evil Dead, like Bruce Campbell talking about how they all had to suffer equally to get this movie made because they were just miserable. It was a miserable experience making it, but it started at least his and Sam Raimi's careers. So then you have like the sequel or the pretty much reboot of Evil Dead called Evil Dead 2. But still, that's neither here nor there. But no, it's awesome that
Evil Dead 2 is the one that I discovered.
Not loving Troll 2 as a hate
religious
crime.
Experience.
The Troll 2. Someone's always got to bring a Troll 2. It's worth watching if you're ready. If you're ready to turn your brain off, it is actually very funny. It's worth watching. My God, Troll 2.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's a classic. It's absolutely like it's a fascinating film.
They're eating them, then they're going to eat me. Oh my God! Like okay. Oh God, I'm sorry. I just like someone says Troll 2, and it's just like Vietnam flashbacks.
I want to watch that tonight.
Oh God, dude, yeah.
What's that?
Sorry. What's that?
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, the town of Nilbog. I tried showing a friend of mine Troll 2, and I told him like, dude, it's not scary. The only thing scary about it is the acting. And
it's fantastic.
Some of the special effects. And
no, it was like something that we watched for a while. Yeah,
I told him
Nilbog wove its way into our vernacular.
I told him to I've used that as an insult for a buddy's girlfriends back in college, and
oh really?
Every girl that he dated, like there's some of the most horrid, wretched people I've ever met in my life, and I was told to come out to meet one of his girlfriends that he was like one of the girls he was dating, and she like just true to form was a horrible person. I'm like, wow, like are you from Nilbog? She's like, excuse me. Okay. It's like, you must be from Nilbog. Come on. It's like, well, no. Are you sure? You look like you're from Nilbog. And then I'll tell my friends, like, on the table, is just like kicking my shin, just like tell me to shut up, and it's because.
Shut up.
Yeah. But I told him to get ready.
Had she have known what you were talking about,
she'd be pissed,
right? Had she have known what you were referring to, she might have raised up a few notches in cool points, or perhaps not. I haven't met this person. So.
And just to address one of the comments, the scene with her dancing in front of a mirror did not define a generation. The scene of the lead actor in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 dancing to Paula Abdul defined a generation. You know what? They came around at the same time. They both did, just on two completely different levels.
All right, guys.
Okay,
we're not going to produce any answers.
Hey, you know what?
Are we talking original, like Nightmare on Elm Street 2? Because I don't remember that.
No, the Nightmare on Elm Street 2 from like I think it was like what is it, 87 it came out.
Really? It was Paula.
Was it 86 or 82? Yeah, it was just Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Freddy's Revenge. But like no, the scene that
so I remember that.
Yeah, so it's just like he's supposed to clean his room.
Standing film.
To Paul Abdul, but like the scene that he's talking about like is the in Troll 2 where the girl dancing from the mirror. Oh man, sorry.
Man, the original concept of Nightmare on Elm Street is really a good one. Yeah.
Oh no, sure. that was a fantastic movie. Amazing practical effects and saved New Line Cinema's ass.
Yeah. I mean, even thinking about it, like even Friday the 13th, like the actual original story, like that was pretty decently put together for what it was. Yeah, absolutely. And then of course it turns into a moneymaker.
And if you think about it, the fact that there was not even a script written, there was a concept for Friday the 13th. There was no script written when they got the funding for it. They had a poster, and the tagline was, I think, something like the scariest movie you will ever see is what got that movie made. So
good for them.
But it was a whole different time back then. There's no way you can do that now. Like there's no way in hell. It's like with Quentin Tarantino getting his start by lying on his resume about all these movies he'd been in, just so he gets his foot in the door in in the film industry. And now there's no way you can get away with that shit. There's no way in hell that you have so many people that are going to cross-reference and everything, and I know that because I have tried. And it's just like, I was in Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny.
Okay.
Were you? I actually was. I'm not credited because I was stoned on my mind with two of my friends walking down to get a hot dog. And we ended up in a shot. And I just know it's me because I remember that ugly sleeveless yellow shirt that I was wearing and the frosted tip haircut that I had. And I remember. So in theaters, I'm like, oh, I'm an actor. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, attach yourself as uncredited extra on IMDb, right? I think you could justify that
really?
credit. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm going to try that. I'm going to get.
I have no morals or scruples, so don't ask me.
Listen, it's all about getting out there. That's it.
Speaking of getting out there, guys, you know what I'd like to get out there?
What? I like to get way out there sometimes.
Well, I'm just gonna say, welcome to the show, Royce Freeman of Freeman Films.
Well, hello,
Royce.
Good evening, Mr. Nader.
Now we just need a few other people. We can actually have a Brady Bunch style screen.
I like your background, man.
Oh, thank you. Star Wars. Yes.
Looking good.
That's pretty epic.
So this might be the first time we've ever actually had a 4-panel
it is
setup here. This is blowing
Royce,
my mind.
bail me out, man.
Well, that's why I suggested coming on while you were there, because I know you don't like talking. I know you don't like talking.
Yeah,
no,
yeah. Tonight,
I know that Mr. Nader basically he seems to follow after the school of thought that David Lynch says is, I let my work speak for myself, and I don't want to talk about my work.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But there's a place to do it. This is the place to do it.
Yeah.
So at least like this,
I can see why. I mean, well, what I like are the conversations. I want to inspire conversations. I want to spark some thoughts. I think that is of more value than the surface, whatever you're getting out of it, even though it's seemingly esoteric.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
So, but no, Royce, welcome to the show. I actually hear you have another project coming out too.
Oh yeah, and Henry's in it. It's a documentary about Jacksonville filmmaking.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you made the cut.
Oh, cool. I love it.
Oh, no, there's 150 people.
I'm,
there's 150 people in the film, so
okay,
so not everybody's in it a lot, but you know, you're. I tried to get as many people as possible.
We have a question
I know that,
from
the thought did cross my
audience.
mind, like, oh wow, who even knows? Man, that's awesome. You guys are probably sold out already, right?
No, not yet. What about yours? Is your documentary sold out too?
Okay.
Is Naderworld sold out?
Well, you know, well, not exactly.
Well, it should be.
I'll be there.
Prequel? Is that the question? Prequel. Wow. Man. I don't want to think about like where my mind goes when I think about the Naderworld prequel, because it kind of like, okay, I'm born, for example. So you have to talk to my father about that, and you guys talk about that.
Yeah, you got to bring Larry on to talk.
Back and yeah, whatever the prequel would be is well, anyway.
No, we need to make a documentary about your father, Henry. Your father is a fascinating guy.
He is, and I talk about him in the documentary for sure. So I am kind of half kidding around. There is some of that in there. But yeah, I love the idea. Sure, a prequel, why not? I don't know if there will ever be a sequel though. I don't know. I'm really not sure. It kind of is a lovely little piece that speaks for itself, but you guys will see that. No, I hope we sell some more tickets. Let's get some more people out. Come on, guys. Come on out and buy your tickets and come out Monday night. It's going to be a fantastic time.
If I wasn't, we are going to be plugging it like crazy.
Sorry, Royce. Take it over, man.
If it wasn't 2,000 miles away, I would be there on Monday night. Trust me. I would love to be back there.
Sunday. I hope it doesn't get Henry.
Well, it's going to come out on streaming sometime. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure he's going to blush like mad, but I had the pleasure on several occasions on being on several of Henry's sets, and the guy runs a tight ship. He knows what he wants, and he definitely goes after what he wants, and he doesn't waste time. He shoots very little footage. He says, "This is what I want, and we need this, and we don't need extra. We just need this." And it's refreshing to be on a set when a person needs only what they need. And they don't give themselves a million choices to second guess their shit later. They chase their vision, and that's what they get.
It's especially beneficial to have that kind of frame of mind when you're shooting on film.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Digital, it's like I got all the time in the world. I'm just the only thing that matters.
I mean.
And I guess
limitations are an interesting thing. I mean, when everything is unlimited, I think that you can run into this never-ending cycle of what to do and how to manipulate it. One of the things I talk about in Naderworld is pre-production versus post-production, and I think that's part of why things look and feel different now. But I don't want to go into that too much. You guys show up and see the movie for yourself.
I already got my tickets.
I don't know
I will say
good.
I don't know if everybody agrees with this philosophy, but my dad's also a filmmaker, and he constantly reminds me, like piss poor planning produces poor, something like poor pre-production. It's very hard to fix it in post-production.
Yeah.
And he says the only thing chicken shit can give you is chicken salad. He says chicken salad, you can't make chicken salad if it's chicken shit, or some kind of metaphor about that. And I'm sure Henry probably doesn't face it that much.
Okay.
But speaking to how hard is it in post-production to fix something that is a oversight?
Depending on what it is, impossible.
Yeah, for me, I mean, yeah, it's just as easy as it is for anyone else, I suppose. And I use the tools sometimes, and sometimes it's just kind of inevitable, especially with limited amounts of takes. Some of that is just a matter of budget. I might go for a couple of more takes, but I really like it. It feels cool to practice, and just kind of go for it. Something happens immediate, and you have to get it done. Yeah, and I had a lot of experience with that. Sorry.
No, I never got to
I was
ask
going to
you
say
this
I did my most amount of. Sorry, I was just going to say I did my most amount of acting. I would say on Naderworld, in the form of skits and other things, and maybe I think that's arguably that would be the case, and I really felt like I kind of broke through in a lot of ways, and that the film camera was very much beneficial. The mindset is just a completely different thing. Maybe it can be nerve-wracking, depending how you look at it, but I see it as more of an incendiary kind of electric sort of thing that is, pretty awesome. And
I never got to
permanent.
I never got to ask you this, Henry, when I interviewed you, or because we ran out of time, we were pressed for time. But what is something that at the time you were doing it, when you were filming on any project, seemed like a compromise that you didn't want to have to make, but in post-production you actually found that your hand was forced, and you ended up coming up with something better than you originally planned, because of some kind of what you perceived as a screw up actually made you do something that you liked the end result better?
To answer your question, my first two films are called Shoot the Messenger and The Exchange. But yeah, all of that.
Both fantastic movies.
Roughly, throughout all of it. Yeah, it's all a disaster, but you put it together as best you can, and kind of. That's part of it, though, is like sort of coming up with a way to piece it together on a no budget. No, but I mean, any far removed from my original concepts, but the spirit of it was there. The basic notes were there on both films, and really, it was kind of a way of sort of improvising and dancing our way through this thing, which you have to do. So it's like there are no compromises, but the whole thing is a compromise, which isn't contradictory at all. But somehow, I think that the ultimate vision is there, and I'm very proud of the work. But I would say that until you have carte blanche and you can just create exactly what you want to create, then there's always going to be a dance to it and certain technical compromises made. So I mean, I can see that personally throughout both of those films. Naderworld being the least of that, the least compromised, the most pure, just me and my unfettered imagination, for better or worse. It's going to be a party.
Well, as much as I hate that I will not be there in Jacksonville to see it, I'm definitely looking forward to catching it on streaming.
Cool.
I mean, it sounds fascinating. It's just like I just hate the fact that I cannot partake in the Jacksonville film scene out there.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. There's plenty of it out here.
Hopefully, we'll see some more some local theaters popping up and get more of that kind of Sunray vibe. They'll hopefully have a new location. I'm not really sure. Royce, what do you know about that? Are they going to do a new thing, a new place, new location, Sunray Cinema?
Well, what I know, and it's not definitive, but what I do know is they have a property that they're cultivating something down in Daytona, but it's not they might have it, but it's not, doesn't seem like it's final in the sense that I think they're still working on some stuff. But Jacksonville wise, for a long time when they had the brick and mortar building that's closing, they were also doing pop-up drive-ins around town, in different places, which was cool. But I don't know what they're going to do once the 6th rolls around, because I know that they have to be out by the end of July, but I guess it's going to take them almost the entire month to take all their equipment out. Yeah. So, but Tim and Shayna have been, even before Sunray. Josh Townsend was telling me that Tim Messette ran some version of a speakeasy, years ago, and before Sunray, he was like having little places where word of mouth, you get invited to some place like a rave, and he'd have these movies that were playing in these very small little venues. And that was a wild time, apparently. And then, then he ended up getting the 5 Points Theater and opening Sunray. But it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because almost all of these filmmakers in town, we've all pretty much premiered our films for the most part at Sunray. And they've been so kind to us to let us do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it has played an integral role. Yeah, they've been the best, and yeah, we love those guys.
It's always been a privilege to be able to see myself perform on that screen.
And Richard Kodai's short film showcase, he kind of was the trailblazer that started this whole, if it wasn't for him doing his short film showcase in 2014, the majority of the filmmakers that I know probably wouldn't have had the same exact career they have now, I don't think, if it wasn't for Richard, because he gave us a venue to show our work, and Monique and Adam Madrid wouldn't have started the LOL at all if it wasn't for his short film showcase. And then they wouldn't have ended up being city producers for the 48 if they didn't start the LOL. So it's a chain reaction.
Yeah.
And we had our big winners.
Yeah, I mean,
for 48.
Yeah, it's really been an entire kind of a part of the Locaine, and we really need that to continue. And it's something that cannot just go away because someone's losing their lease.
Oh yeah, we're not going anywhere. Jacksonville's here to stay. I mean, all of us filmmakers, Henry and Josh and Adam and Monique and Chad Hendricks, Durden Godfrey, all of us. Sure. I mean, we have
art in general.
Art in general. I mean, Henry paints. He's a musician. He's a filmmaker. I mean, a lot of filmmakers, Cynthia Roy, Josh Townsend, a lot of people are musicians and filmmakers. They're not just filmmakers. They're artists.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing I've always loved about my hometown. It's like actually the things that come out of it, be it cinema, be it just independent filmmakers. You have tons of music, successful musicians, underground music. You have successful underground music. You have tons of it that comes out of there. It's just like people. When I tell people where I'm from, it's like, oh, you're from Florida. I'm like, oh yeah. It's not like the Australia, the United States. It is, but it's also arguably one of the more cultured parts of the United States compared to again out here in LA, where everyone's just kind of trying to do the same thing as the other person. That's what I've seen out here quite a bit.
And that's why
it's pretentious.
Yeah.
Started the school paper to talk about these things, the rising arts.
Well, I think it's probably
not rising, the maintaining arts.
Kind of thing that,
Piece.
I mean, if you can imagine what it takes to be kind of a nonconformist in this area and kind of a bit of a weirdo or whatever you would say. It does take a lot. It's a very different thing. Maybe some things that you would expect in a larger city, but you just can't hold to themselves. That truth is what's really important. An artist's truth to themselves. Would we see that when the camera's not rolling? When it's not a big show, that's when we know we're not dealing with a poser and we're dealing with somebody who actually lives this and has no choice. Yeah. So. And I think no matter what's happening with the industry, no matter what changes we're seeing, the great artists are going to continue, and they will continue to rise. and it's inevitable. In fact, perhaps it's a good thing in the sense that all of these sort of moonlighters and people who are in it for the wrong reason might just fall apart, fall away because of what's happening. And I think that if you're really true and you have no choice but to do this, then you're going to continue it, and it shows, and that really does matter.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely agree.
But it's very much. I agree with you. Like you can always tell when someone's actually passionate about their artwork versus someone that just wants the attention. And unfortunately, that's something you see out here quite a bit too. And I haven't really seen much of it in Jacksonville because, again, as I said earlier, I've been in LA for the last 7 years, too long. Working on coming back home this year, hopefully. But
of course, we believe that there are some outstanding artists out there.
No, absolutely.
But there's just such a large
like,
industry that it's bringing in moonlighters, people who only want to do this for fame, or maybe they thought they wanted to do it, and they don't really, I'm not trying to call anyone in particular out. Just I would like to see a little bit more of getting back to the craft and that sort of insanity. Like you just can't help it. You just there's no choice.
Well, I'll put it this way.
You're calling me out, aren't you, Henry? Yeah. You're calling me out.
No, I'll put it this way. For example, I have no problem saying anything. I have no problem saying what I'm thinking here, just because I know that there are people that are aware when I talk about them on the show. There's no shit skipping whatsoever when I do it. But basically, there's Josh and I. We've been writing partners off and on since like 2012, and we wrote this just kicking ideas around. We wrote this short little thing called Bad Agent, just about a guy, an aspiring actor who gets the worst gigs in the world by the most inept agent in the world. And so we wrote this little skit, and we had like a few ideas we kicked around. So I ended up writing a 9-10 page script. Went on a Facebook film group. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to get into film, all you have to do is just work on a set. Don't go to film school. I promise you, it'll be great for networking, but it's the most expensive mistake you'll ever make. Might as well just go network on a film set, work with other PAs, stuff like that. Start there. But it's one of those deals where it's like I just went on a Facebook film group and I told people what I was trying to do, and I got tons of laugh reacts. People call me a jackass, just trying to get free labor. I said I'm looking for a group of people to get together just for the love of filming. We'll figure it out, but we get together, we kick around ideas. Someone brings in a script, we assign things and everything else. It'll be like our film school. One day you'll be the director, one day you'll be operating the sound recording system. Like you'll be doing stuff like that. One day you'll be editing, or you'll be sitting with a seasoned editor, and you'll learn how to do it that way. Like let's go ahead and work each other through this, and if it becomes something bigger, we can go from there. We did it for a little bit, then COVID hit. But so we do this short. I called Josh. I'm like, hey, listen, so Bad Agent, I just filmed Bad Agent yesterday. It's a 9-minute short film we filmed in a matter of 8.5 hours. Our director of photography that we got in there kept venting about the 180 line. Like the rule, like you cannot break that 180 line. Where the camera is where it stays. Over the shoulder shots, it has to match at all times. And I told him, like, that's more of a suggestion, not really like a rule. Like that's what they teach in film school. But if you're making something more independently, there's reasons why you can break this. Great example is in the movie Heat, when Robert De Niro is talking to the girl at the bar, and then he finds out that she's actually a cop. So how he starts talking to her, you see it in one section on one side, and then when he realizes who she is, his entire tone changes and it shifts to the other side. They break the 180 line, but it shows that increase of tension. There's reasons to break it. I just watched Nefarious the other day. Great movie. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. But this prisoner who is possessed and everything else, and it's the prisoner talking who's scared shitless, is talking to a psychiatrist, trying to convince him that he's not crazy. He does not want to be executed that night. And then the demon takes over. But as the demon's taken over, it shifts behind the detective's head to the other shoulder, and now the demon's talking. But it's like we had this one guy, just like he was trying so hard just to make a name for himself. He was terrified of slandering his name by refusing, as a director of photography, to change camera lenses. When I asked him to change the camera lens, he refused to change angles. When I was like, hey, we need to get this angle of this. No, I won't do this. It'll look like shit. Now I'm like, well, no, I'm telling you to do this. Like, director, director of photography. I get it. Your name's on the line, but what if it looks? He's like, what if it looks like shit? What if it doesn't? So we just shot it again without him. Like we shot the angles that we needed without him, and it came out great. You know, he's like, "Oh, this looks really good. You're right." I was like, "No, you didn't shoot this, man."
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the editor that has everybody by the balls, right?
I was also going to edit it too, but the sound engineer, Mark Hensley, who I've interviewed for the show before, great guy, great example of there's never too late to start filmmaking. He just started filming maybe like 4 years ago. He's in his, I think he just turned 60. But very talented. He's already won tons of awards, and he has tons of recognition just through his filmmaking, despite what he has going for him in the film industry. He's a great dude, great guy. But it's just like it's one of those deals where he was like, just here's my one per episode, Josh. Mark's like, no, fuck it, I'll do it. Like, all right, man, you got this. But no, like,
well,
back to like
breaking rules with purpose. Certainly can be a fantastic thing. It just depends. It really does depend on the genre and what you're going for.
Yeah, and the reason why I said that is because of the fact that you're talking about, like, you can always tell when someone's in it for, like, I guess some misplaced sense of glory towards themselves versus actually just for the love of just the experience of doing it. And you can always tell. Like, there are people that love it, but there are people that love it because they want to build a reputation for themselves. Of course, who wouldn't? But at the same time, it's their identity is predicated around the idea of, this is why what I'm doing is so edgy, or why I'm so cool. You all need to come see this and everything else. And I've watched the same person who I'm talking about actually try to do like art house films, but he was so mad. But even like there was like, I think he had to turn out with there was like 75 people that showed up, which is pretty damn good for an art house, like what's it called? An experimental film. For
Absolutely.
75 people to come see your experimental genre film, that's pretty damn good. Because those usually are just boring as hell. But he had a ton of people, like well over 100 people come out to see. Like, no. I think he said it was 175 tickets that were sold for this film. But it was just, God, he was so mad that that's all he had. I was like, bro, you have an audience. What more do you want? It could be like 5 people. Would be stoked to talk to 5 people about what I'm doing. Like, get them stoked. They'll talk to 5 people. You'll have 10 people. Just keep it going, and you'll get that audience eventually. Especially if you're being very true to who you are as an artist. So,
well, hopefully, I mean, I can refer back to Naderworld, and I feel like I hope a lot of people see it. I want them to have the experience. But if that doesn't happen, it was absolutely a worthwhile endeavor, just so that I can actually watch it myself.
Yeah.
And I do that every day, repeatedly. No, I've walked away from it by now. But no, it was really, it was for me, and it feels that way, and it shows, for better or worse. Yeah.
I mean, I think those are some of the most watchworthy, just pieces of like cinema. It's just like if it's something that the person made for themselves, something they had to say, versus just them doing something just because it'd be fun to do. So,
man with a camera, absolutely.
Oh yeah. I mean, let's face it. Anything's better than watching social media influencers do their dances in the streets. So I'm always for like more independent cinema.
I don't know. Some of those dances are pretty fire. That's what the kids say, right? Right.
It's interesting you were saying the kind of an autobiographical take on art, Henry, because my second feature in utero was a grindhouse piece, and it didn't resemble to the general public. It didn't resemble anything that could be considered autobiographical. But when I explained to people, well, Kenny's dad is a war vet. My dad's a war vet. Kenny's character is a big goof that quotes movies left and right. That's what I do. And it dealt with a person losing a child at a young age. When I was in college, a girlfriend of mine did. So there's like a dozen autobiographical things that I disguised that slasher grindhouse film as a picture book, a photo album kind of thing. Like I'm all over that film, in some capacity. Every character, the female characters, the male characters, every character in that movie has something to do with something that it happened in my life to some degree, and I just disguised it in all this minutia and art in this grindhouse film. It doesn't have to be apparent to the audience that it's autobiographical. You can just put a whole lot of yourself into something that doesn't resemble you, but it does resemble you underneath.
Yeah. Absolutely agreed.
Well, I bet it felt good to get that out.
It did, 100%. And that movie is very divisive, but it doesn't need to be for everybody. I mean, trust me, I hope that movie's not for everybody. It certainly is a hard swallow.
I mean, that's just like art in itself. I mean, like they say, art is always going to be subjective, and cinema, storytelling, and all that. It's just another form of art, a different medium. So it's just like you're never going to have 100%. You know, I could show you a video of a happy little puppy that I made, and a whole story like Homeward Bound. You could have a story. You could have Homeward Bound without the cat getting knocked into the river. You could have this amazing like the dogs are never really like in danger. There's like no like mountain lion situation. There's none of that stuff in this movie, and the fact that they lost those animals twice. Come on, let's like talk about an irresponsible family. But still, like you could have a movie about just like three pets who walk around the backyard and having a conversation with themselves. You'll have someone be like, "This is offensive. I don't like this." I'm gonna write the director on like there's always gonna be someone that's gonna hate something, no matter how hard it's going to be to hate it. But it's just like there's gonna be people that love stuff that should be hated. Look at Human Centipede, that has a fan following. So it's just like
I'll never watch that movie. It sounds repulsive. It doesn't even sound like art. It sounds like just literally ass to mouth. It just sounds.
Royce, you haven't seen Human Centipede. I saw it.
No.
I lost a bet. I didn't know what it was about. I honestly thought it was about. I thought it was like a creature feature kind of thing, and it's like, and my thing is most creature features to me, modern day, are really stupid. So I didn't want to go see it. A friend of mine made, I forget, a stupid ass bet, and I fell for it. And I lost the bet in 2 seconds. And so we went to go see Human Centipede, and I was fine the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I just spent the next hour and a half, like just like, dude, what the hell? What is that noise? That's the sound of someone swallowing something. Like, yep. Oh God.
So it did its job.
I think the best creature feature ever made is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh yeah.
And Cronenberg's The Fly.
How about I will say The Thing, The Fly, and American Werewolf in London.
Those films are absolute classics in my book.
I will always add American Werewolf in London to that one too.
Oh yes, definitely that one. That's an amazing film as well.
But oh God.
Oh, absolutely.
Gentlemen, I hate to do this. I have to be at work. I've got a few things I've got to get done tonight, so I do have to jump out of here. I really hate leaving when we have guests on the show, but I do have to get out of here.
Yeah, it's probably about my time as well.
But Royce and Henry, I would love to have you guys back on the show in the future. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I know there's a little bit of a lag here.
I was saying it's been about an hour, and I said I was going to give 30 minutes. I think I'm going to probably calls it a night as well. But okay. Royce, what's up? Give us some Royce Freeman here.
Well, I mean, yeah. No, I could talk. I mean, yeah, I'm excited.
What night is your show?
Sorry. Oh, Tuesday. It's the day
what
after.
What night is your show?
Night, July 2nd.
That's what I thought. So it's the 2nd. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone be there. Show up for that one. Show up for the shorts, and show up for Naderworld. It's going to be, 3 local celebrations in their own right, and hopefully they'll cross-pollinate because these are some cool people, and I hope to see everyone out there. And let's have a great time. And yeah. Oh, look at that thing. What's that all about?
No.
Did you play the trailer? You can do that if you like. I don't know.
Well, listen, really quick. I'm going to get out of here. Royce and Henry, you guys are always welcome to come back on the show. I do apologize for leaving so early. I find it like I hate doing it, but I've got to be at work. It's my first night back tonight. But you guys have a great night. It's been a nice meeting both of you guys. Listen, you guys are always welcome to come back on. Looking forward to it. But ladies and gentlemen, all of you have a safe and happy weekend. Don't do anything stupid. And
Then
that
what's
way, I
supposed
mean,
to
we
be-
can't have you guys do anything
Take
stupid
care.
because
Thank you
if
very
there's
much.
minus one of you, there's minus one of our audience members. So
All right.
you guys have a great weekend. Make good choices. And yeah, I'll see you next week.
All right, thanks.
And
Yeah. Hey, could I say something real quick? And I don't want to bring anyone down, but since he mentioned that, this past week in Jacksonville, we really have had a tremendous loss. Anyone who knew Ann Knowles, she was an absolute legend of this town and an establishment. And she is a friend of ours who ended her life around, I think it was on Father's Day. And right now at Sunray, in fact, I believe there's a dedication to her, something in the direction of the Queen of Riverside, and so we just wanted to say shout out across the universe. And like what he just said about losing an audience member, perhaps that can be seen as a selfish or cynical thing, but I knew Anne, and she was a really cool person. She liked the band, she liked the other band I played with, Chad Jasmine Factor, and she, I saw her at shows and around town. Again, many people knew her and really loved her. And yeah, she will be missed. And I just, it's a strange thing to say perhaps, but I just wish that she could have seen this. This would have been maybe something that she would have enjoyed, as menial and small as that might be. Just to have, maybe a moment and a smile or a bit of reflection or a piece of music or even a memory, because again, we go back into the 90s a little bit to the actual scene and show some old stuff. But never mind, that just dedicating to, dedicating that time, certainly. And I don't know, I'm rambling, sorry. And Knowles, we love you.
But happiness and joy and art and those things. Was it that Patch Adams says in the Robin Williams movie where he's playing Patch Adams, and he said the laughter is the best medicine. The idea that, so none of it's trivial and small.
Robin
what we
Williams
all do, if we affect anybody in a positive way.
I don't want to bring everyone down, sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It is all good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a strange thing. These little silly little moments can actually carry you through and maybe give you a moment where, hey, once again, to where we're not talking about it, whatever that is, whatever this mass is that's weighing down on us. It is real and it's there, but if we can just have, it's more than entertainment and it's more than just content. And I'm not just talking about whatever I've done at all. I mean, really, like when art can touch someone else. Real quick, and I just was thinking about this earlier. Anne had shared a playlist, which was based in like some of the music she was listening to around Einstein a Go-Go era and Club 5 era. And I was thinking about that. I also recently got a playlist from a producer. It was recommended to me, whatever, on my phone, from Steve Albany. Steve Albany produced the Pixies, and he produced Nirvana's In Utero. And
nice.
really like amazing producer who had strong ethics, and also came up with some amazing sounds. He just passed away recently, but his playlist and what that does, the idea of sharing a playlist, and of course, we have Anne's playlist as well. As a matter of fact, maybe Heather, if you're listening, maybe she can post the as a comment, just to put it out there to the universe. If anybody wants to have a moment and enter someone's mind, it won't cost you anything but a little bit of time. And there's something about that. There's someone's choices of what they like and how personal that is, and that can be carried through the generations, at least. Yeah. So music playlists. Sorry, I think I've like completely hijacked the show at this point, but I wanted to get that dedication out there. Yeah.
It's not very often we get to
Royce, what's up next for you? You've got like a
What's that?
Royce, bail me out again, man. Help me out. Let's change the subject.
Well, no.
So
after the documentary, I got some short films in the fires and the Stokes in the Fire.
Cool.
I'm always writing stuff or always getting stuff material worked on.
Yeah.
When I went to Lisbon for the 48, I had a short film concept written as kind of an outline, and then the actors and filmmakers that went with me from my team, we shot a short film in Portugal while we were there. And Dad is the editor and the post-production supervisor on it, and we're going to basically have it done. It should be done within the next couple of days. We're just looking to find a place to show it, because there's no it's not funny, so we can't put it in the LOL. And we're already showing something else at Richard's short film showcase, so we really don't have any other place to put this 10-minute short film. So we're trying to figure out how to be able to show it on a big screen somewhere, sometime in the summer.
Sounds like an interesting predicament that could use some brain people to figure out.
I'm going to have to open the theater soon. Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
Some investors to come in.
I'll work in sessions.
I think that it would be an important thing to do in regard to the North Florida and the Florida film scene in general. And I know that there's legislation that has just passed recently. They're trying to, put more interest into this area, maybe even to a degree as a competition to what's happening in Georgia. Whatever with that.
Well, I know a couple of things that Adam told me.
Shouldn't necessarily be a competition, but I will compete, and if it's to the benefit of filmmakers in Florida, and I would add to that we need theaters as well, and having like Sunray, for example, in this area, and having the locals able to bounce off ideas off of their friends and family, and kind of cultivate. I think it is a very important thing, and it beats digging a ditch probably. So
yeah,
maybe we can get some investments or whatever it is. We need more independent cinema. We need more places like Sunray. And
it was kind of a 1-2 punch for us, wasn't it? First,
San Marco Theater.
And then Sunray. Well, but hopefully Sunray gets another building to operate out of, because
the filmmaker Adam Madrid, who runs the
I'm sure they have the capability.
The filmmaker Adam Madrid, who runs the Jacksonville 48, he works at the City of Jacksonville Film and Television office now. So we have a man in City Hall, so to speak. We have one of us that's working in the
seeds planted.
Well, the seeds planted. He told me that studio they're building in St. Mary's, Georgia.
We need an establishment. We need a church cinema.
Well, he said that there is a plan down the line to put some infrastructure here in Jacksonville, but it's going to take time. But what he did say was that because they are building sound stages and studio stuff, which is 45 minutes away, there is some cross promotion stuff that they're doing behind the scenes where they know that we have filmmakers here and artists and journeymen, and they are going to have a structure to film things in. But we also have this topography and this vast city where you have a million different places in Jacksonville that all look different. We have a Springfield area, we have a downtown area that looks nice, and we have a shitty part of a downtown. So we have that. We have Arlington, we have Riverside, we have Orange Park. We got all these places that look vastly different. And if filmmakers went to Georgia to film at those studios, and once they were done shooting indoors, they could come down to Jacksonville and shoot at the beach and shoot at this and shoot. Adam says there is active talks between Jacksonville legislation and there is talks between Georgia, so that way we can send work and film work back and forth. And eventually they do want to have some kind of a building structure film studio here down the line. So I think there is stuff that eventually will happen. It's just we have to let it happen in its own time, I suppose. But the fact that Adam is looking out for us and trying to make suggestions and try to help change happen is a nice thing.
Yeah, I always thought down there, Cecil.
Well, hopefully someone will get it together and we'll actually be able to.
But who knows what the future holds for
that's a
all
good
of us
area
down here. Well, you know what? It's funny because, we've been talking about Sunray and the project, you guys.
Well, sure.
Out of the next, 3 major events, you're both represented. Henry with Naderworld Monday, and the short film showcase the following week.
Yep.
That's right. Disunity, which stars the inimitable Joshua Chitty. Yeah.
I'm a fan of that guy.
And then
so Henry's actually in all 3 events. Good. He's in the documentary.
Should come read for the next time. Whoops. Oh man.
No,
it's too much. I'm gonna take a nap.
I think now's about the time we say goodnight, gentlemen. So Royce, if you want to let everybody know how and where to reach you, and follow your projects.
Yep. On YouTube and Vimeo, you can look me up under Freeman Films. On Facebook, you can look up Freeman Films. It's an artist page, and there's also an artist page for the documentary First Coast Cinema World. And it had both of those pages and places all have content and posters and videos and stuff, and trying to make sure that there's lots of stuff for people to follow, and trying to cross promote with other filmmakers so that all their stuff, like on the documentary page, I've been posting links for all these people's events that they're doing, so I can just even the page itself is a mini documentary, so the page has all these artists links and posters and stuff, so people can whet their appetite.
That is outstanding.
Awesome.
And I hope everybody goes there, watches the films, and keeps track of you in a non-scary, non-threatening way.
Yeah.
That's right.
Henry, where can people find all of your wonderful work?
I have no idea, and I wish you the best.
Oddbird Motion Pictures. That is
probably
the
online.
Gentleman's company. Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oddbird Motion Pictures.
Thank you.
And if you want to, find out more about the WADcast, Wadco Media, or even School Paper,
physical media, something tangible that you can hold.
You can hold it. And you want to know something really cool about this first issue? It is by Royce Freeman, the guy that's on the screen now. He's here.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote a piece of School Paper.
I wrote a love letter to Sunray Cinema.
Did
because
you?
yeah,
Yes, it did.
Let's hear it.
it's very awesome. Everyone should pick up their copy of School Paper. It's just $2, except for course I still have to get you your copy. After all, you wrote in it. You should get one for free, right?
I would spend $2 on something that I wrote.
But I'll be seeing you Monday, and I'll have my copy of it for you in hand, so you can check it out. The printed word, it's not dead, in case anybody thought otherwise.
I do want to tell everybody, get this
What's
while
happening
you
Monday? I forget.
Get this while you can, since Sunray is, not going to be open forever. Go to Sunray, see films while you can there, and check out their concession stand. They have amazing food, and don't fill up on food at restaurants before you go to Sunray. Buy the food there. They have amazing food.
They absolutely do, and I was going to have another thought, and I totally lost it.
The words he speaks are true.
Oh, right. For instance, I believe this Sunday, if you're a fan, Creature from the Black Lagoon is going to be playing with, what is it, Zat?
Ooh.
Zot? Yeah.
Sunday?
It's going to be a double feature.
And they were shot here. They were
Zot,
both shot in North Florida, Jacksonville.
And it is a fantastic pizza. Go see Zot, eat a Zot. I absolutely, yeah.
And I don't know why I brought it up, because
That's right.
I just remembered. Sold out.
You brought it up, so
that
then I would
feature
hear
is
about it and
sold
perhaps
out.
go, because that sounds like a fucking blast. Yeah, man.
On the 4th of July, they're playing Jaws.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
And
of
on
course.
Father's Day, they had was it the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
I think that's kind of a tradition, right there. They typically do
they play Jaws. And what I read was Tim said that because they're closing their doors, they want to pack the theater with films that they on their bucket list that they had actually never shown. They got something they thought would be an ungettable get, because Harvey Weinstein kind of owns the film and keeps it in perpetuity. But they're playing Dogma. They're playing Dogma on July 3rd.
God, I'm going to be out of town.
I mean, who doesn't want to see a movie where Alanis Morissette is God? I mean, come on.
I do, but I'll be out of town. Dang it.
And there's a giant poop monster. I mean, you got to love it.
It's the movie where we've mentioned this story on the show a few times. Kevin Smith showed up to the theater to protest his own movie with all of the people. Yeah. They're like,
you gotta love
you look
that.
just like the director. He's like, do I?
I didn't hear the name of the film. What was it?
Dogma.
Which one?
Dogma.
Oh, Dogma.
Dogma.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah, I like Dogma. Dogma's cool.
Oh, yeah. It's subversive. Yeah. It's a fun romp. And it doesn't take itself too seriously, even though it does have a nice little under the surface theme and message to say. But it's ridiculous.
And it's funny, a lot of the stories.
Guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got my maracas happening, okay? You see what time it is?
Yeah.
All right. It has been real. I have had a fantastic evening. A lovely evening talking to you, everything that we've discussed this evening. And I hope to see you soon. I hope to see you Monday night. Come out to see Naderworld if you get a chance. It should be a lovely party. Monday, 6:45, Sunray Cinema in 5 Points, Jacksonville, Florida.
We'll see you then, Henry.
Yes, I will be there with bells on.
Okay, that sounds all right. Peace out. I think that's me.
And then there were two. And then there were two.
The stories of, Kevin Smith always tells interesting stories, but in particular when, he gets Ben Affleck and Matt Damon to star in Dogma. opposite Jay and Silent Bob. It was quite a pull at the time, and tells the story. And long story short, they owed me because he got Good Will Hunting made.
No, I was about to say that he's producer of Good Will Hunting. In fact, they offered it to him to direct after he made Chasing Amy. They offered Good Will Hunting for him to direct, and he actually said that the movie was too good for him to direct. He said it needs an artist telling this film, and I would shoot everything against a wall. I wouldn't give it this visual scope that it needs. And then they got the guy that did Elephant and Bowling for Columbine, and Gus Van Sant. They got him to direct it, and Good Will Hunting won Oscars and stuff. I mean, so
yeah,
clearly they made the right choice. But it was nice of them to offer it to him first, and it was nice that he bowed out, but they gave him the choice to direct it. Which I've actually heard this several times in interviews with him, that he's had big films, or at least big opportunities, that have been offered to him. And because at different times in his career, he didn't think that he had visual chops to do, storytelling that would require somebody who was an auteur. He goes, I just do dialogue in my films. I'm not a visualist. I mean, later in his career, he became more of one, but he wrote a script for the Weinstein Company for The Green Hornet in the 90s, and they wanted him to direct it. And he goes, no, I'll write it for you, but I'm not going to direct that movie. Again, it'll just be a stoner comedy, or two people leaning against the hood of the car. I mean, it won't have action and visual scope.
He's like, this is the kind of thing with cameras that move, and I don't do that.
Well, yeah. So later in his career, even though his earlier stuff is my favorite, he took very big swings and bold moves when he did Red State and Tusk and Yoga Hosers and films like that. I mean, they were divisive. They weren't for everybody, but I appreciated that he was willing to do some weird shit, and it was outside his wheelhouse. It wasn't Jay and Silent Bob again, not that I love Jay and Silent Bob, but I'm just saying is that, those other movies, he got to try to experiment and do some weird stuff. And
still waiting for Moose Jaws.
There you go. I heard about that. But it was interesting is that he's two different times he's actually chronicled his own life. Zack and Miri Make a Porno is basically the idea of Clerks, that he shot it. The characters shot a movie where they worked. And then when they did Clerks 3, they literally did that. Is like, well, Dante and Randall, they want to make a movie at the convenience store, and call it Inconvenience, which is what the original script for Clerks was called.
Loved all of those in-jokes.
Did you ever see a movie? I saw this when I was in film school, but it was called American Movie.
I have not.
And you should see it. It's really cool. It's a documentary film about two guys that are trying to finish making this movie. And it was done in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's really cool. A person who's a filmmaker and also a film fan will geek out and enjoy it, because it's really gritty and really funny. And but so it's not a piece of Hollywood redundancy. It's this love letter, and it's really cool. And again, since this is a documentary, these are real people. They're not like overproduced. You've seen these people a million times. These are real folks, and everybody's completely different. So every character is weird. There's a weird uncle that that can't remember his lines, and then there's the filmmaker is really full of himself in a fun way, and then there's his friend who's a dope. But it won festivals, and I saw it when I was in film school, which was cool. But I don't think film studios. I mean, I think maybe the pendulum is swinging back around where some filmmakers are taking chances because they're getting opportunities. But there's films in the '90s and the early 2000s that I saw in film school and stuff that they didn't mind if they offended anybody. They didn't mind. They were allowed to do weird stuff. And in the later part of, and I don't blame people for this, but the more we become enlightened, where we try to be more socially conscious, and it's like if you go to a healing place and they give you treatments. Well, sometimes to get rid of the bad stuff that's inside the body, the treatment will actually unknowingly damage the good cells, because you can't attack the badness sometimes without risking that you get, some of the goodness goes away too. So being socially conscious and trying not to offend and being a little bit more respectful, I think we've gone completely in the other direction, where now we're getting soft, where we don't want to offend so much that we don't take any chances. That we try to attack the cancer, but then it also makes the soul dead. In the process, that we can't do anything that is singular anymore. We can't, if it doesn't meet a shareholder's quota, or if it's not good for stock options, or if it's not going to sell toys, or just any of those things, if it's not going to further some agenda, they don't bother letting filmmakers make it. Because if it offends one person, they're like, oh, people are going to tell 10 friends, and those 10 people will 10 more, and then by the next thing you know, there's going to be pandemonium, and we don't want that. So let's check all the boxes. Let's make sure everybody's represented. Let's make sure that everybody's happy, and then you're playing it safe, right in the middle of the road. You're not taking any bold swings. You're just making sure it's a delicious vanilla sundae with a cherry on top.
Yeah, I will say it really depends, for major businesses, their duty is always going to be protect the bottom line. And when you have accountants that are in charge instead of creatives, it's going to be all about how can we, pull money from the four quadrants and maximize box office receipt. But at the same time, we have a very thriving independent film scene that is releasing some of the weirdest stuff that I've ever seen. And I'm thinking, as long as people know what they're making, it will find its audience. It may not always, bring in buku bucks, but then again, some of the more, we'll say, problematic titles from back in the day, pickings were slim then. There was no home video release to compete. You saw the movies that were there, or you saw nothing. It's such a huge market now. You can literally find anything you want.
Yeah.
And it's just right there waiting for you. I've been watching a lot of John Hughes movies. And yeah, from a 21st century, filter, not great. And especially, he seems to have this fascination with making people fall for the wrong people. And then instead of having a lesson learned at the end where they're like, I fell for the wrong person because I found out they were like, hey, maybe this other guy should sleep with my girlfriend so I could break up with her. And that's supposed to be the hero, the guy you're cheering for, for her to get with.
No, well, that movie I do see is problematic, but I like Pretty in Pink and Ferris Bueller, and I mean I don't think Pretty in Pink and Ferris Bueller and films like
Ferris
that.
Bueller is an exercise in perfection.
And Pretty in Pink I thought was a sweet film. She ended up with the guy she wanted to be with. I mean, it was written. It's funny in the script. She didn't end up with Ducky per se, but she did go to the prom with him, and they just stood there and danced together and showed that they couldn't break them, and they were going to be friends forever. But the test audience was like, the whole movie, you're thinking that she wants to get with the guy, and the whole movie, the audience wants her to get with the guy. So because they realized the whole movie up till the end had this trajectory, and because the writer, and I'm a writer, so I understand this. The writer on the script wrote a film where she ended up realizing the guy's a dick, and she ends up staying with her friend. But the movie they made, Molly Ringwald said, I don't have any chemistry with Ducky, and I actually find the guy that I like. I actually find him attractive. So there's this chemistry. I've been playing the whole film. You can either stick to your guns and have this ending that represents what you wrote. But here's the thing. We've been playing these characters for 90 minutes. We've been rewriting the film with the performances. So now there's a different truth. And so for 90 minutes, we're telling you the story. If you stick to the writer's vision for the ending, it doesn't work with what we've been playing for 90 minutes. So they redid the ending. There's lots of famous movies that you find out that they did a test audience. And I think generally that's not always great, focus groups. But some movies, they claim they fixed them. It's like, oh my God, half of the movie was shit. And then they cut it out, and then they reshot other stuff, and now they made a film that was good. I've had to reshoot a couple of things sometimes, and you feel you feel shamed when you have to do it, because the actors are like, "What? I have to come back for pickups, or what? I have to go into the recording studio and do ADR and record my voice again? What?" Like, well, the restaurant was too noisy. There was a car that went by, so we couldn't get it was in clean audio, or there was a dog barking, or whatever nonsense excuse you tell them. But they're like, okay, I guess I'll come and record my lines again. But the audience doesn't know. The audience doesn't know. If you do it, record it well, and you mix it well, they can't always tell. And it doesn't matter what the intention was for the audience anyway. All they know is what you show them. So if you do your best at fixing the problem, then the audience just sees this film you show them. And I don't know, have you ever seen a movie where you heard that, well, there's this version and they had to change it, and then you saw the other version, and then which one you liked better, or if you thought that the release version was just dog shit, and then you saw the other version later and you're like, that's so much better.
Donnie Darko comes to mind.
So the director's cut's better?
I enjoyed that one more. I don't know why, a lot of exposition was cut that really helped clear up what was going on. And I understand that there's some people prefer the original release because it's less hand-holdy, but with the second cut, it made it more enjoyable, less confusing.
I will say this: history has proven this. If, as an artist, I understand the artist wants his vision out there, and if you're working for a studio, that the studio, if you don't have final cut, the studio is going to mandate a change, or you'll feel pressured to make the change, and you'll do it for the wrong reasons. But whatever, that version gets released, and then the audience, the first time they see the movie, is this changed version. And the problem is, I mean, it's worse, I guess, with films that are become classics, and then the director can go back years later and tinker with their work. But
looking at you, Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah, but whatever version that the audience sees first, even if you're a kid, like some kids, they see the prequels first for Star Wars, and then they see the originals, and whatever you see first as an audience, that's your truth, for better or worse, whether it's right or wrong. It's what you saw first. If you saw Apocalypse Now, the theater version first, and then you see the redo, which was way too long, and then you see the final cut, which is shorter than the redo, but it has a little bit more than the theater version. It's like choose your own adventure. It's like, well, which version is better? Well, the director says this version is better, but the first one I saw was the theater version. The Exorcist also, the theater version is the better version, but the director went back and he added more stuff. Doesn't make it better though. Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, the director didn't have final cut, so for Laserdisc and DVD and Blu-ray, he put back in stuff he cut out. It slows the film down. So it's like music. You have a tempo, a certain rhythm and a tempo that's happening. Well, if you fall in love with this song or this film that has a tempo, and then they decide to go in and do a remix or a director's cut, and then they start sticking new notes, new scenes, new moments, and it changes the tempo. And even if it's technically better because the artist was like, oh, this was my vision, well, the audience may not appreciate that because you've screwed around with this tempo that they have fallen in love with growing up. And so that's the hardest thing as an artist myself that I battle with when I go to movies and I have to see if I want to see the director's cut or the theater version. As an audience, I just care about what I like. And that sounds selfish. I only care about what I like. Even if I see an inferior version, like if I see something in the theater and that's the version, and then you later find out, oh my God, the director didn't have final cut, the studio screwed the director over, I feel guilty about the fact that, well, I still kind of prefer the theater version. I feel guilty about that because it's like, that's the version I like. It's like a joke. If a comedian tells a joke, either the audience laughs or they don't. Laughter is not something you can fake. You can't. I mean, you can fake a laugh, but if something is funny, it's an involuntary reflex. It has nothing to do with intellect. It's all about how it hits you here. If your first kiss happens and there's a song playing on the radio, most people are probably going to forever associate that song with the first kiss. If something tragic happens, and there's a song playing, or if let's say you have burnt toast happens, so the smell of burnt toast happens, and then there's some other memory you have, you associate that with burnt toast, or
having a stroke,
or your mom's apple pie, or something that your grandma made, the smell of it, or the sounds, it's all sensory and it triggers a memory. But as an artist yourself and as a fan, what do you think if you like something, but then you also found out that the artist was compromised or has a bad association with that project? Can you still be like, I feel bad that happened, but I still like it. Selfishly, I still like it. Or does it cloud your judgment knowing, well, the artist says he hates it and had a bad experience, so now I'm going to hate it just because?
I don't think I've ever had an artist their claims of not enjoying a work environment influence how I feel about the final product. Now, I've had the discussion many times about, somebody's behaviors, whether or not you can separate that from their work. A lot of people come to mind, Polanski, Spacey, in recent years. Can you separate things that they've done or are accused of from being able to watch them? And I think a really, really interesting example of this is in the wrestling world, where you have someone that was arguably, top 5, top 10 of all time in Chris Benoit. Definitely one of the greatest ever, put on a pair of boots, step into the ring. Kills his wife and kid. Like the weekend of a pay-per-view. Yeah. Not that it's, really important, but it's how people started going, where's Chris? He's never late. He's the consummate professional. It's what's, really started the check-ins. But I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know if there is a right answer, because like I said, one of the greatest of all time, for a period of time, very important to the product that he was a part of, and they have just eliminated him from the history altogether, pretty much. No mentions, that kind of thing. So do you acknowledge his greatness as a performer? Do you just forget he ever exists? And as a fan, can you even watch his work without having your mind taken back to, when you heard the news that this guy, the guy that was always known to be, super dad, family man, just kills his family? It was seemingly out of nowhere.
No.
So that, I know it's an extreme example, but it is the question: can you separate the artist from, or the art from the artist?
It's a case by case basis, because I've seen movies where, and I don't want to name them because I don't want to give people a reason to be like, oh, you like this actor, you don't like this. But I've seen movies where there's the headlines about this particular actor did X, Y, and Z, and they have this big major blockbuster movie. Maybe it was a superhero movie, and there's this particular person in it, and they did some stuff allegedly, and the movie comes out. The movie itself is amazing, and there's 200 people, 300 people, maybe 1,000 people that worked on the cast and crew that labored over making this movie over how many years, and they put their heart and sweat into making this thing. This one particular actor being in the film is one person out of the majority of other people, and what they may or may not have done off camera, I still think that the script and the photography and the acting from everybody, and the directing and the editing and everything was top notch. And I enjoyed the film quite a bit. And I felt guilty afterwards. I'm like, I can't believe I know this intellectually about this person. But for 2 hours and change, I let in the film, the lights dimmed, the flickering of the projector, and I was transported to another world. And but then intellectually I'm like, well, damn that person if they did it. So I also try not to share all those kinds of specific views on social media, because as a filmmaker myself, I'm trying to be up on the upward swing and trying to get my stuff out there. I don't want people to be like, wow, damn that Royce Freeman because he supports X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, I don't. I don't support X, Y, and Z. I'm just saying is that it's the artist made this film, and it is a tricky thing. can you separate the art from the artist? I asked one person when I interviewed them for the documentary. I asked them this question. I didn't use the answer because you had other people talking about it. But I said, if you know, I mean, obviously, if they're like kicking puppies and harming kids and doing egregious things, it might be harder for you to separate. But if the person's just a jerk, person cheated on their taxes, the person, stepped out of their relationship, and the wife cheated on the husband cheated on the wife, they're not going to jail for doing that, but they're going to go to social jail. And people, I mean, half of Hollywood,
looking at you, Amber Heard.
Yeah, half of Hollywood met their current person while they were shooting the last movie, but they were with somebody else when they made the last movie. So half of these actors and actresses are questionable in that way. Doesn't make it right, but I'm just saying is that I had an actress, filmmaker actress, and tell me if the person rubbed them the wrong way on any level about their moral character, they 100% would think that represents their work, and they couldn't watch their work. I said, so if somebody you found out wasn't a great husband, they didn't do anything violent, but they just weren't a great husband, and they stepped out or they left their wife, or whatever it was. She goes, yeah, I don't think I could watch their work anymore. If you found out the person was just a liar, or just didn't have a good moral compass and their personality, and they were just kind of just a grumpy bastard, she goes, yeah, I don't think I'd like their films, even if I loved their films before. If I found out about them, I probably wouldn't watch their stuff anymore.
You know what? On the WADcast, I don't have a problem naming names and putting my neck on the line, so to speak. So how about I just throw a bunch of names out there? You don't have to respond or react, but why not stir the pot for me? Here we go. I know people were upset that what's their face? That was the Flash. I don't remember. Is it Ezra Miller?
Yeah, that's a name. Yeah.
Ezra Miller did a bunch of stuff. Got caught on video doing a lot of stuff. Basically, went on this really weird kick of just really awful behavior. And I tell you, I still went to see The Flash. I didn't care for it for far different reasons than that. Let's see. I recently watched Glengarry Glen Ross. Thought it was brilliant.
Alec
Baldwin, Jack Lemmon, Kevin Spacey. It was just a fully stacked cast. And you know what? I just let the art speak for itself. I still watch Roman Polanski films, and we all know what that MFer did.
Yeah.
So I would like to say that, I will always let the art speak for itself. And I get accused often of saying I don't like somebody's movies because of their political opinions. And I'm like, no, Kirk Cameron just makes terrible movies. That's the only, that's it. And I stand by that. Okay, there is a fan base, but I mean, honestly, is it a fan base that's like, we love these movies, or is it a fan base of we love this message? Either way, I guess it's a fan base. But the point is, I'm not the target audience for that. So of course, I'm not going to like his movies.
I've only seen him when I was a kid on Growing Pains. I haven't seen any of the Left Behind films that he did. I'm aware of them, but I haven't seen them. You
haven't seen Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas?
No. I like his sister. I mean, again, I like her when she was on the TV show. But I've heard that even though I'm a person of faith, I don't shove it down anybody's throat. I heard the two of them are pretty extreme.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, they are very, very, very much spread the message through their work, which is fine. But when Candace Cameron Bure was like, I will no longer be a part of Hallmark Channel movies because we are, they're producing the Christmas movies with gay couples in them. It's like, okay, it doesn't affect me at all. I wasn't watching the movies before. And again, I get called out. No, well, it's because she's this. No, I watched her in Full House. I watched her in Fuller House. I'm not going to be watching her movies because they are Hallmark Channel movies. That's the reason. I'm not saying I'm above any type of movie being made. After all, I paid money to go to Sunray and watch a Neil Breen movie.
Yeah.
So I get, sometimes.
Well, does that make me a corporate shill if I say that since I got into making films to tell a story and to do, blah, 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 but I also would like to have it be something that, I can just generate a little bit of food on the table with some work? Does it make me a shill to say, if Hallmark reached out and said to me, we like your work, we'd like you to tell some story, that I would just do the best damn job I could, but I would take their money.
I can safely speak for myself, and I can safely speak for Brandon. We can talk our trash all day long about how formulaic the Hallmark Channel movies are, and quite frankly, we do know somebody that has said, yeah, we just take the same premise, change the names, change some occupations, and it's the movie. But digress. We would all take a paycheck because it means we're working.
Yeah.
Not a corporate chill at all. It just means sometimes you get hungry. And that's okay.
I'm a fan of I guess what some people that rage against the machine would refer to as populist storytelling. I like art films, but I also like just stuff that I can have a fun time for 2 hours and throw the popcorn in the air and jump around and scream.
Yeah.
If just like how Zack Snyder told the films that he wanted with those superhero films, and he did Watchmen, which was a subversive take. If Marvel or DC or Star Wars, again, came calling, I grew up watching that stuff. I would just do the best job I can, but I wouldn't be like, I'm going to sell out. I'm going to do shit that is soulless and blah, blah, blah. No, I'd still find a way to do something meaningful in whatever sandbox that they provided and said, look, you can do any movie you want as long as it's inside this box.
I think James Gunn thrived in that environment.
Well, now he's running DC. And I actually think you couldn't have had it happen to a better guy, because he's an indie grunge guy from before. So if you give that guy the keys to the kingdom to let him run the place, you got a friend in court. You got him now running things. It's going to be some wacky shit. It's going to not be the typical stuff. It might be familiar, but it'll have a spin on it.
And I very much look forward to his vision. Wasn't a fan of Snyder's. I'm very much on the record of that.
I know it's hit and miss. I know it's hit and miss. I will say I liked Snyder's version of Justice League better than the theater version, only because, it's still too long. I mean, they didn't need to be 4 hours. They could have cut that down a bit. But I like his version better just because when Joss Whedon came in, he just completely dicked around with the film, and he was sticking stuff in there that some of it was in bad taste.
Here's the thing. Whedon, he was not a shooting director for that. He did a few scenes, nothing major. Like 98% of the Whedon cut, as people call it, is Snyder's footage.
Yeah.
And when Snyder got brought back to do his director's cut, again, there wasn't really the need for, I think 2 scenes were shot. Snyder shoots long. He shoots so long. And you have, it seems like hours of footage just left on the floor, which, considering how much slow motion is used, a few of those scenes could have been put in, wrap things up a little nicely. Like, I think it was the notes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Warner Brothers stepped in, had some notes for Zack Snyder. They said, punch it up a little bit. So they got a couple of comedy writers to get some jokes. Snyder shot that stuff. The whole, what's your superpower? I'm rich. Snyder shot that. Or I don't not like you, or whatever Batman says after Superman's like, you didn't bring me back because you like me. And it's like, I don't not like you. He's like, no. Snyder shot most of it. It was the notes from the studio that said, make it punchier. Then a family tragedy had Zack Snyder, pulled away from the project completely. Joss Whedon, was basically brought in to wrap things up. I think some just, I never looked into it, but I don't know who, wound up with Final Cut. But they took what they were given and made this really weird thing.
I know for a fact what the difference between the two movies was, from interviews, that they had the 4-hour version that's of Snyder's film minus those 2 scenes, and they said it's too long, and so literally, and Whedon's cut's only 2 hours. So of the 2-hour Whedon cut, 1 hour of that, 1 hour of the 2-hour film is Snyder's. An hour of material of that 2-hour film is reshoots. The entire opening with the demon that Batman's fighting, and then they see the mother boxes, and then the fear, the whole family in Russia.
Yeah, that subplot was really weird.
The subplot, all of Superman's footage, all of it was reshot. And
my
that's
favorite
why he has that
thing,
weird that they painted out his mustache because he was shooting Mission Impossible. At the time,
yeah,
and they wouldn't let him shave it off. So they had to move it up away from his lip and then put dots on his face so they could paint it out. That's why he looked weird in the Snyder in the Whedon cut. And certain scenes, like when they talk about they should bring Superman back, and they're standing around in a circle talking. The part where Batman takes his shirt off and he has all these bruises, and Diana cracks his back. The part where there's a whole bunch of stuff, like Flash landing on Wonder Woman's chest awkwardly. Gal Gadot said, "I'm not filming that." That's why you never see Wonder Woman's face, but you do see Flash with his head in her chest, because it's a body double for her, but he was willing to shoot it. So I mean, it's crazy because you hear some of the same stuff that you were talking about Spacey and Snyder and Ezra. You hear some of the same stuff about Whedon too, that he's kind of
a little scummy.
A little bit. Yeah. You hear about some of that stuff. They say never meet your idols because they're just as human as all of us, and they got flaws like all of us. I start hearing about all these celebrities that I like their work, and I'm like, shit, damn, I wish I didn't know that. I grew up watching the Huxtables on TV, and then I found out what Dr. Huxtable was really up to, and damn, But when I watched some of those episodes, and you watch Little Raven, the little girl, and she's bouncing around, cute as can be, and innocent, and she says all kinds of interesting, meaningful things that help the family come together. And there's these messages in the show. Because I grew up watching that. I grew up watching Who's the Boss and Growing Pains and Family Ties and all those shows.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's obviously, I don't want to make it seem like, somebody did something in real life and it's horrible. And selfishly, that some art and show that I liked was tainted. That's no. People were hurt in real life, so I'm not. Forget that I'm a fan and stuff, but I really liked that show, and I really felt bad when I found out what he was really up to, because I'm like, fuck. I was like, I really liked that show growing up, and my childhood is tainted. Because you find out all these people that you watch their stuff, you're like, am I still allowed to like the show?
It's going back to what we were talking about earlier. Dogma is being screened.
Yeah.
Weinstein's name opens up the film.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There's, maybe a small part that's like, yeah, I don't know if I can get on board with this. But then the other part's like, I'm here for Kevin Smith. I don't care about Harvey Weinstein.
Well, Harvey had nothing to do with that movie other than paying for it. He had no control over any of the casting or the film. In fact, when Disney bought the Weinstein Company, bought Miramax, they decided they would not release the film. So that's why Lionsgate bought it. So Lionsgate is releasing the movie, not Miramax. So, I think that it's distanced away from him. I mean, his name is in it, but Lionsgate put it out, and Lionsgate is owned by not Lionsgate, but the Weinstein Company is owned by Paramount now. So, I think that just because Bob is not in jail and Harvey is, I saw on a podcast that Kevin Smith said that the only movie of his that you cannot get on 4K or Blu-ray anywhere is Dogma, because Harvey Weinstein, theatrical rights still exist. Like Lionsgate can put it out anytime they want in theaters. They own it for that. But all the physical media and streaming rights were owned by the Weinstein Company and not Lionsgate. So they can't release the movie anywhere because Harvey just doesn't want to put it out, and he's just being a prick, more so than he already is a massive prick, but Kevin Smith said he begged him, come on, just let me buy the film from you. I will write you a check. I will buy the film from you so I can have my film back. And on principle, Harvey was like, no, I don't want to do it. So it'll never get released anywhere as long as he has that control.
And he's going to have to die. And then whoever gets the film is probably going to be like, you know what? Money's good. Let's sell this.
Money's good. Well, haven't you seen when some things come out and it's only released because the widow or the child of the artist is hungry for some money, so they dig up some of the old stuff from their dad that they found in a cedar chest in the attic. And
we found some recordings of Michael Jackson singing into a tape recorder. It's the new single now.
Yeah. So you find out that widow, like Yoko Ono, digging up, recordings that John Lennon did and giving it to the surviving Beatles, and then the Beatles can release a new album, a new single with with them playing now with John. They didn't originally play with John, but they did, So I mean, you find, and it's like some movies where they do AI. The movie Star Wars Rogue One, Peter Cushing is dead, but they needed to make a movie that took place before Star Wars Episode 4, so they needed Peter Cushing to look like he did in 1977. So they shot an actor and they put dots on his face, and they went in and they digitally put Peter Cushing's face on this guy, and then they got a voice double to match his voice. Now, he's dead, so he couldn't consent to that. His family estate did. Carrie Fisher was still alive when they did that same thing for her in Rogue One, when they had Princess Leia at the end, having one cameo at the end. They de-aged, or they put young Leia's face on this other actress, and then they borrowed a line of dialogue, or a word actually, from when Princess Leia's in the hologram, and she's telling Luke, she's actually telling Obi-Wan, because that's the message was for Obi-Wan. She goes, help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. And so, like, they took the word out of that dialogue, and they used it in Rogue One, because then she's holding up the plans, and the rebel spy is like, "What's on that?" And she goes, "Hope." So they actually put a line of dialogue that actually was said by Carrie Fisher in the mouth of as AI face, but Carrie Fisher consented to that. She gave her permission. And we can say whatever we want as a fan, whether we liked it or didn't like it. She gave her permission. So I can't really hate something all that much if the artists themselves consented to it.
James Earl Jones giving further consent to have his voice
in
used
perpetuity.
With AI.
Perpetuity. Which I think, let's face it. He was the voice of the dad on The Lion King, and famous for it. They remade The Lion King. They're like, you know what, damn it? He is the Lion King. He is the dad. So they're like, we're going to replace everybody else, so we're going to remake this movie. But he's iconic. You can't have the dad without the voice of James Earl Jones. You just he is the voice. So
everything the light touches.
So when you have, of course, the only person that's Darth Vader is James Earl Jones. And for now until the end of eternity, I'm fine with the fact that he signed that over, because you're damn right. He is the voice of Darth Vader.
Now, while I would be really skeezed out if Jimmy Stewart started making new movies, I admit I would be really curious.
Mary, Jojo's Fellows, Clarence.
Could you imagine, though, that, say, Marvel's like, our new Iron Man, Tony Stark, is going to be played by James Stewart. It's like, what? And the fact that they can do it.
Yeah.
We have a Hulk, you see.
Yeah.
You know what?
Put on the suit. Steve.
Come on, Rhodey. Nah, that was terrible. But yeah, that's basically, what it boils down to. It's better knowing that somebody gives their permission rather than just a family going, money. Let's get more money.
This is some wild shit, I gotta tell you. I don't remember his name, but like a person without any facial hair might not resemble at all somebody else. But the moment they put on a wig and a mustache or a goatee, suddenly they are a dead ringer for another celebrity because of the hair and the facial hair and whatever. There is a series of movies of these exploitation action movies, and they never say, because it's just a lookalike, they never say that they are marketing it for him to be the new Charles Bronson. But the guy looks identical to Charles Bronson. He's got a mustache and the hair. He looks, and they're doing a series of like Death Wish and The Mechanic and all these other type movies where he's just, he's got a gun and he's cleaning up the town. He's going out on the mission and he's doing whatever. And they're marketed to be like the old canon films. And it's like Charles Bronson's back from the grave. They never say he's Charles Bronson. They never say that it's just a lookalike, and that you can't sue anybody for using a lookalike for something. But it is very clear what their intention is. They're just not saying, they're not claiming he's that guy. But we know what kind of movies they're making, and we know why they chose that guy. They know what they're doing. But so I actually think that's kind of clever. We're just gonna, Charles Bronson never actually died, and he looks amazing. Look at this guy, and he's kicking ass.
I'm just waiting for the day though that they dust off some old franchise and say, you know what, we're going to make a sequel, and we're going to use the original cast.
Oh wow!
By way of computers,
When they did Superman Returns in 2006, they had just recently got the rights to Brando's estate, and they found all this footage because they were trying to do Superman 2, the Donner cut, and they found all this footage that he recorded for Superman 2, which got all cut out of the film because Brando wanted participation point rights. So they're like, well, if we just cut him out, then we don't have to pay him anything for that movie. We'll just have the mom do all the stage advice to Kal-El. But they found all this stuff, and they're like, well, Superman Returns is supposed to be a sequel kind of to Superman 2, so it's in the same, that's why Brandon Routh kind of looks a little like Christopher Reeve and, kind of thing. They're like, well, so in that reality, Jor-El is Marlon Brando. So we're going to use digital technology to digitize his face, and he's going to be a hologram, and he's going to be talking to Spacey, as Lex Luthor.
Who, by the way, had the greatest line with "What was when?"
Rose Red while he's brushing his teeth.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting that they got the rights from the Brando estate. He's dead, but his kids were like, yeah, we'd love to accept that nice check, that you want to pay us.
At the very least, it was footage that was already shot, and using it was an interesting workaround to say it's a hologram. That way, it's supposed to look kind of, So I don't have a problem with that. But it's when, say, they're like, we're going to make a new Odd Couple movie with Lemon and Matthau, but we're going to use very young actors to wear their faces or something, and use AI voice technology to capture their voices, and suddenly, I don't know if I'd be okay with a new Lemon Matthau Odd Couple.
Do you remember hearing why they ended up killing George McFly in Backfish 2? He wanted too much money to be in it, so they decided, well, we'll just write him out. But he had a problem with the fact that now they hung the guy upside down, so you couldn't see his face clearly. But because they had taken a mold from his face to be
From the
older.
first movie.
To be older George. Well, they had his face, and
Yeah.
there was no rule in SAG at the time that they couldn't use what they already bought, which was
Right.
his likeness in the first movie. But he never gave authorization, but he didn't know that he could give it, and they didn't know that they needed to get it because technically the law didn't say they had to. But ever since that movie, he went and lobbied and got, he made a stink, rightfully so, and now it's illegal. You can't. But there was no likeness issues at the time. But I just looked at the clock, and I'm realizing I'm going to start turning into a pumpkin if I stay up much longer.
Okay. Then before we go, say this, and just for the sake of journalistic something or other, I do believe Crispin Glover said he didn't do further installments because he had a moral quandary with the ending of the original Back to the Future.
That Marty got a truck, so it symbolized that money is happiness.
Yeah, so it's the only thing I know for absolute sure, a lot of weird stuff happened behind the scenes with the Back to the Future movies, and Crispin Glover did not come back after the first one, and it was really crappy that they're like, well, we have his face on this latex thing here, so let's just hang him upside down. No one will know the difference. And I didn't.
Well, but Crispin Glover did say on an interview, he says, and I also want to just let people know, I'm not even crying over spilled milk. I don't like how that actor played my character because people think it's me. He goes, people think it's me. So people are going to think that whatever choice that guy made was something I did.
He's like, he says, I know. It's like, wow.
I know. So, basically, he claims that, he's not crying about the money. He's like, I don't want people to think that's me. I wouldn't have played it that way.
Not really sure how many different ways you could play the one scene.
Unless they wouldn't plans. They wouldn't have killed him probably had he been in the film. They would have used his character in a different way. They wrote him out because they had no other way they could use him.
I love Back to the Future. It's my favorite movie.
I love the first movie. I mean, I love all three. The first one's the classic, but I will say this: the second one's just so much fun.
It is, and I love time travel. Looking at the future, you know what? Maybe at some time I'll tell you what my bullet or my gun to the head pitch for Back to the Future 4 is. Because when somebody asked me, he's like, what would you do for Back to the Future 4? I was like, not make it. They were like, okay, gun to your head. And they said, okay, you're going to make Back to the Future 4. You're a huge fan. You are going to make it. What's your story? And then I came up with a pitch.
And you'll tell me that pitch when we are at the premiere of Henry's thing on Monday.
I can do that. But in the meantime, there's the music. That's generally the sign of it's time to say goodnight. I want to thank you, Royce, and thank you, Henry, if you're still out there listening. Heather, and thank you. Brandon, sorry you had to miss what turned into the second half of the show, but we'll be back next time with the WADcast. But I end each and every episode by saying this very, very important message. And the message goes as follows. Royce, maybe you'll give me an amen on this. Okay. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. If you want to be a filmmaker, the first thing you have to do is, start doing it. You're not going to be an expert right off the bat. It takes work. But if you want to be a writer, hey, start writing. If you want to be a director, grab your phone, start getting some shots. If you want to be an actor, You could find words to read and perform literally anywhere. You can find an audience literally anywhere. All you have to do is start doing it. You don't need permission to be an artist. You just have to get out of your own way. And that goes for a lot of things in life. And quite frankly, if I'm being 100% truthful, I am not so great at following it myself, but I'm doing better, dagnabbit. So how about we all go on this journey together of self-discovery and artistry, and start doing things. Let's start getting things done that we want to get done, and not regret not making. How many negatives is that? The point is, let's just make the damn thing. That's it.
Amen.
So thank you all for joining us here for the WADcast episode number 167. It is quite a good time anytime Henry and Roy show up, and doubly so when they're here together. Don't forget, Monday, that would be, I'm not good with dates, it's the summertime, everything is all the same day. Monday, June 24th, we have Naderworld playing at Sunray, 6:45 p.m. Be there. Get your tickets. I'm going. I have my tickets. Also, we have July 1st. That's the short film showcase, right, from Richard Kodai. Is that correct, Royce?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Richard is an awesome guy. Worked with him before, and hung out. Yeah, that's the more appropriate term. But awesome guy. Go check that out. Both of these guys, I believe, will be. You have a short playing in that, correct?
Yeah. Blue Plate Special. It's a love letter to 80s slasher movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but with a modern spin. And then the documentary I did is playing the next day.
So on July 2nd, by the way, so Royce is represented at the short film showcase, as is Henry R Nader with Disunity, which stars me. So make sure you go check that as well. And as Royce just mentioned, First Coast Cinema World premiering at Sunray Cinema July 2nd. Make sure you get tickets for that now. And by the way, I'm just going to put this out there. If you are a reader of school paper, there could be a little something special coming your way soon. Not all of you, but in the way of a contest, something. Just stay tuned. Follow the school paper. And while you're following things, don't forget to follow the WADcast, Wadco Media, and all those wonderful things. Go to wadcomedia.com for all the wonderful links to everything we do, including the Patreon, which I never, ever, 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 ever look at. Do not go to the Patreon. It's a waste of time. So if you want to support the cause, go to the merchandise page. It doesn't really do much to help, but it kind of makes me feel good when people buy stuff with logos that I designed. Like, hey, maybe I don't suck at this. So go do that instead, and I'll take your 50 cents and reinvest into the company, and do what we can do to keep spreading the word of everything that is happening here in Jacksonville as much as we can. A lot of great movies that are coming out of this place. Room Zero, Far from the Tree. It's In Utero. Awesome. Too much to name, especially when I only have like 5 seconds. So thank you all for joining us here tonight. And we will be doing more episodes dedicated to stuff coming out of Jacksonville, because it helps to have like all of these great filmmakers in our own backyard. So with that being said, I'm going to wish everybody a good night, a happy week, and we will catch you